Do I regret not having children? Not too long ago, a young girl in the gym that I go to, she just recently became pregnant. She's about 20, 25. And her and I have talked a little bit, and she asked me, at my age today, being 58 years old, she said, "Do you regret not having children?" I said, "No. Absolutely not." When I was younger, of course, being raised the way I was raised, programmed the way I was programmed, I have always known that I did not want children. But yet in my upbringing, the question always was to me, and it wasn't a question, everything that was always said to me was, "You're going to regret it. You're going to regret not having kids someday. I know it. You're going to regret it." Well, guess what, people? I've never regretted not having children. That expectation was put on me, I would say, as a little girl. You know, the dreams of the getting married and having this big wedding and then having children and then raising my children to do all the things I didn't do because, of course, my life is gone. I don't have a life anymore. My life is now my kids. And now my kids I'm gonna want them to live and do all the things that I never had a chance to do because I decided to have kids. And I think that's, even today, I don't think it has anything to do with my age and my generation back then, but I think that it is such a heavy conditioning that we come into. And it's not just women, but it's men as well. That we come into this world, our parents raise us, and then they have their expectations on what we have to do with our lives. And the biggest part of that expectation is to get married and to have children, and to buy a house and have that job and to live this life that they have. They want that expectation out of you. They want it. Well, being the only girl, that was a huge expectation for me with my mom and dad. And I think my mom got it though a little bit because she knew my spirit. And I have always been, like seriously, as long as I can remember as a little girl, I had dreams, I had aspirations, there's things I wanted to do with my life, and children was never, ever a part of that program. That's fine, right? If that's how you choose to live your life, if you want to get married and have kids. My reasons have always been is that I just never had that in my DNA, so to say. I just never wanted them. And even being around kids, I've just never been that good with kids or being around kids. If I had chosen to have children, I would have raised them totally differently than how my upbringing or my programming. I would never have introduced them to any of the programs right now. I never would have introduced them to a certain religion. I never would have indoctrinated them into anything. I would give them this big thing to look at and say, "You decide for yourself. You live your life, but I'm here to get you to a certain point, and I'll always be here for you because I love you." I think I would have been looked down on horribly because I would not have followed the programming that everybody follows. I never would have done that. And I'm sure I probably was a huge disappointment to my parents when I told them I don't want kids. I never want kids. And I didn't want to get married. And I did get married, which didn't even last a year, so it's not even worth mentioning. But I want to mention in that, before I married this kid, he pretty much told me he wanted kids. And I had to promise him one kid. And I told him I don't want kids. And I knew I wasn't going to have any kids. And that's probably why I went and had a kid with someone else. When I got to, I would say around 25 years old, about 25, all my friends at this point were starting to get married. And that was like a big thing. We need to get married, time's running out, we gotta pump out these kids before we get old. And a lot of my friends actually got married way before I did. I would say the closest ones to me got married quite young, like around 18, 19, and were pumping out kids that early. And I was like, no, man, I don't even want to do that. I have no interest in that. I wanted to pursue my career, pursue my dreams, and I certainly did not want to get tied down into that domesticated type life. So my brother Todd, this one here, Todd went out and he got married and he had 2 kids. And just recently, his son, him and his wife had a kid. And Larry, of course, my oldest brother, he never wanted kids, and he was a wild one, and that was probably smart. Well, he ended up getting a girl pregnant, and he never even knew he had a kid until she turned 21 years old and showed up at his door for a DNA test and found out that he had a kid. And he didn't even have the wife, apparently, or not wife, because they never married, but the lady apparently said my brother wasn't fit to be a parent and would not tell his daughter who her father was until she was 21, and then she said, I want to know who my dad is, and that was more for medical reasons. And so she ended up meeting Larry, and they ended up doing a DNA test, and sure enough, I knew when I looked at her that absolutely it was his kid. Well, she now married at a young age, and now she has 2 kids. I look at my friends where one of them, that's all she dreamed about. I mean, she had nothing in her life to dream about outside of getting married and having kids, as dysfunctional as it is and has become. And I say what's sad about that to me is these kids, then of course, all of them now went out and had kids. My mom and dad, had taken a liking to these young kids and were grandparents to these kids. And these kids have nothing to do, now that they're older, with my mom and dad. I mean, my mom and dad had done so much for that family, and now these kids just don't want anything to do with it. I spoke with my mother about it because she always wanted a little grandbaby, and that's their dream, right, too. That's the other thing where it goes is now, my parents, that's the conditioning, right? They get married, they have children. Now they expect their children to have children so they have grandchildren. And then we create this big family. And she was so disappointed that I was not going to provide her a grandchild, which was fine because Todd did it for us, so that's all good. Not having children in my life has allowed me to do everything and anything I dreamed, pursue my dreams. And I was a dreamer. See, now I understand and recognize a lot of people aren't dreamers. I've met a lot of people, seriously, my small group of friends, they didn't have any dreams. What they considered a dream was literally just getting married and having children. So now the question is do you regret it? Now that I can sit here at this age and look back and go, oh man, I really regret it. I really should have had children. And I can't do that to myself because I don't live in regrets, because regrets are just useless. They don't even make sense to me to regret something. It didn't happen that way. Why would I want to live in that space, in a regret space? So it's not even, I don't even think about that. It's like, no, of course I don't regret it because it didn't happen. I'm old now, I don't want, but I should go back. So my husband just asked me basically how I'd feel now in my golden years, so to say, if there's any, like, now that the kids, say I had kids and they're all grown and gone and living their lives and doing their thing, and now here I am, and now I can go travel. But now travel's one thing, but now I'm too old to pursue a dream in the work life, so, and then I wanted to do all this young. That was it. I wanted to do it all young. I didn't want to wait till I got old to do these things. You think about the motherly thing, and these women, all us women are supposedly have this motherly instinct. And I don't think I do at all. I don't have that energy. I was a horrible babysitter. I just have never liked kids. Just don't like them. I never wanted them for that reason too. When Mike and I were living in Sedona, I remember telling a man that I have no regrets. And he looked at me and he said that I was, what did he say? I was immature? Not immature. I told him, I said I live with no regrets. And he said I was naive. That was the word he used on me. Remember that? And so this guy living up in Sedona, of course, now we're talking about the Sedona. If you know anything about Sedona, look it up, you'll understand. And I had just basically made a comment about living with no regrets. And he's like, oh, you're naive. And it's like, really? Okay, so this is something else we're supposed to live with as regrets? Look at what you may regret in life and ask yourself, why do you regret it? How does that serve you to regret something you didn't do? You didn't do it. Or did do. Regrets of what you did do. I regret not having to have met Mike earlier in life. It serves me not to regret that, right? Because it didn't happen that way. Because truthfully, if we had met earlier in life, I probably would have had a kid. I regret nothing. You can call me naive all you want, but I have no regrets. What would create a regret? Is everybody telling me that do you regret it? You're going to regret it? You're going to regret not doing this? Well, I'm not doing it because I don't want to do it. So that could change by the time I hit 60, oh man, I should have had kids. Well, you didn't. I didn't. So regret is silly. It's a wasteful thing to do with your life. It's to live in any form of regret, period. It's not a thought. I never thought about it. It was a feeling. It was an intuitive feeling within me as a very young person. I was always entertainment on stage and always within me. I never thought about, I can't wait to get married. I can't wait to have kids. Instead, it was more like, I can't wait to be on my own and to explore this world and live this life. And only when somebody said, you're going to regret it one day, did I think about it. And I said, no, I'm not. And of course, I don't chew gum. That's it. I would have been a horrible mother. Tony said to me, I would be a horrible mother because I would never allow my children to chew gum. See?
Can you feel a little love?